Our main story this week is about this bingo card full of small goals based on minimalist principles and how it can help you reclaim your time, deal with your clutter, and in turn improve your overall well being. Time use studies show us that people really don't have time to stay healthy and keep up with life's requirements. But the good news is that by developing some small habits, like the ones on this bingo card, normal people like you and me that have full time jobs, families, responsibilities can actually save precious time to put towards the things we love and towards our well being. I'm your host, Jesse Bourgeois. Thank you for joining me here at the Wellbeing Weekly Show. Grab a cup of tea, get comfortable. Let's dive into our main story on how we can save some time and improve our well being. Then we'll look at a study that highlights a unique reason why clutter can mess with our heads, and finish off with our weekly roundup of some well being related items from the past week or so. Recently, my wife and I had the what are we doing wrong moment. After doing dishes and tidying up after our 1-year-old son's toys and all the pet hair, so much pet hair. We just looked at each other like, how do other people do it? It feels so hard to stay on top of everything. Which got me thinking, what do time use studies say about how long people are spending on daily tasks? Like, are we taking longer to do things compared to the average? Why can't we find the time to keep up with our healthy living habits? After a little snooping, turns out there is data on this, and here's what it looks like. On average, for people in their mid 20s to late 30s, they spend 2 hours per day on household chores, half hour per day on shopping for personal goods, 2 to 3 hours per day on personal hygiene, 7 to 8 hours per day sleeping, 1 hour per day eating meals, and for those with kids, 2.5 hours per day for caregiving. That takes us to 16 hours. 8 hours left for typical workday, which on average has around 30 minutes of commuting. So negative 30 minutes. It makes sense why people feel like they live for the weekends or their days off work. This is one of the things that drives me mad about the fitness industry is when people say, oh, you have time, you just aren't prioritizing your fitness. I get what they're trying to say, but let's stay grounded to real life for a minute. What those fitness people forget, myself included sometimes, is that they're in the fitness industry because they actually like fitness. So even if all they have is a small amount of time, they're happy to spend it working out. If you don't like fitness and you have, where did we land again? Oh, right, negative 30 minutes per day during the week, you probably aren't going to be super keen to put your physically and emotionally tired body through a workout. And this lack of discretionary time isn't just a fitness problem, it's a well being problem. Research suggests that well being has a sweet spot related to discretionary time, between 2 and 5 hours per day. Less than 2 feels like not enough, and interestingly, more than 5, we see a progressive decline in well being as well, which could be something to do with sense of purpose and meaning and other confounds related to unemployment. So we're in a bit of a pickle. Ideally, we would like to get somewhere between 2 to 5 hours per day of discretionary time for recreational activities, hobbies, and downtime. But looking at the average amount of time spent on life, we are actually over budget on our time usage. That negative 30 minutes probably coming out of sleep or personal hygiene. As a parent, I know this all too well. So, what can we do? First, let's look at that time distribution and see which ones could be flexible. Household chores, 2 hours. Shopping, half an hour. Personal hygiene, 2 to 3 hours. Sleeping, 7 to 8 hours. Meals, 1 hour. Caregiving, 2.5 hours. Work, 8 hours plus about a 30-minute commute. The more I've thought about this, the more I've come to think that there's really two primary ways to address this, with a third that's not realistic for most. The first is the least extreme one that targets those first three variables. Little habits to save time from household chores, shopping, and personal hygiene, in particular, like getting ready in the morning, not the basics of like showering and stuff. And I think that's the most realistic place to get back a good hour, hour and a half a day. The second is more extreme and targets work and commuting, because sleep, that's not going to change. Meals, if you've watched any of my other videos, you can probably guess how I feel about rushing mealtime. Caregiving, I think the point here, for a lot of us at least, is to have more time for caregiving and time with loved ones, whether it's kids, pets, friends, community, family, and so on. So, if we use minimalist principles on the chores and daily living things, then the next variable with some flexibility is work and commuting. Finding work closer to home to reduce commuting time and working less. Now, boy, my wife and I live in a town of 5,500 people in rural Canada in a 2-bedroom house built in the 1940s. There's no insulation in these walls, and we live in Canada. There's a thing called winter here. We share one vehicle and trimmed out a lot of the excess expenses. And a big reason we're in this little town and in this little old house and sharing one car is because it's what we can afford. We made a trade off. Being here allows me to work flexible hours, 7 hours per day instead of 8, and mainly from home. And when I do go to the office, it's exactly 1 kilometer from our front door to the office front door. So I can walk in 10 minutes or ride my bike. And this sets her up to work part time. This, for the time being, is giving us the lifestyle we want to do what we think is best for our little family. We've gotten super lucky. There's no other way to put it that this has worked out the way that it has. And I get this isn't something that everyone can do, but it is something to think about and is worth exploring if it's a possibility for you. If you're feeling crushed by time requirements and you put some minimalist practices into place, but it's not enough, I really do think this is the next option. The third most extreme option is just get really wealthy and pay away some of these time problems, but I don't know. That seems even less realistic, and everyone I personally know that has that amount of money works a ton in order to acquire that much wealth. So it doesn't seem like the time saving hack the internet seems to suggest. So now that I've planted the seed for a quarter, third, or midlife crisis around what job you might want to consider and where to live, let's go back to the minimalist principles we can use to save ourselves some time. One way we can go about this that makes it fun and effective is an idea I got from a friend of mine that I think is just the absolute best. She created a goal bingo card for herself for the year and is tackling the goals on the card to get bingo, which for some reason is just speaking to the old soul inside of me, and I can't stop thinking about it. Now she's using it to sign up for 10K races and other big goals that stretch her beyond her comfort zone, as well as just some fun things. But we can also use this to tackle decluttering and to try out some minimalist practices. Here's how we'll do it: 1 month, 1 card, try to get bingo, then try to get a blackout. You can tweak the card if you'd like. You can hand make it. My friend sort of made a craft day out of it and made it look nice. Or you can use the PDF linked below. If you are going to print it, I highly recommend printing it on some harder paper so it's a bit more sturdy. Each goal on the card is designed to help shave off time from those first 3 categories by adopting minimalist principles to help us get to that 2 to 5 hours of discretionary time per day that we can use to participate in meaningful activities and rest. We're not going to go through them all right now, but if you're interested, check out the link. For me, I love to cook, so the kitchen is where I notice the most when it's getting overly cluttered. So the first one I'm going after is clean and organize the fridge and tidy the kitchen pantries. Long overdue, and will save me time fumbling around trying to find what I need for cooking dinner. And will cut down on my food waste. I'm embarrassed to say how much food we've wasted over the past while, simply because I forgot it was in the fridge and then it spoiled. If you want to join me in this decluttering, time reclaiming bingo game, I'd love to hear how it goes. You can comment below or send me a message. I'd be really, really keen to hear how it goes for you. I must be an adult. This is just way too exciting for me. It's like when you start getting excited about new cleaning products and tools. Like getting a vacuum is just the coolest thing. Adulting. For our secondary story this week, we stay on theme, and I want to talk with you about this study titled Home and the Extended Self, Exploring Associations Between Clutter and Well-Being. The reason why is to talk about the findings, but also to highlight this point. We're early on in this show. This is episode number 7 of the Wellbeing Weekly Show, and my mission is that every takeaway, recommendation, activity, or resource that's provided through the show is grounded in evidence-based practice. That term, evidence-based or science-based, gets tossed around a lot, but what it actually means and what the goal is with this show is that these takeaways and information check 4 boxes. First, scientific evidence, that there is research to support the takeaway and the topic. Second, expertise, looking at what professionals and organizations who are active in the field have to say. Third, client data, looking at the evidence that has come from real-world implementation. And fourth, patient or client values, how the practice connects with the values of those who are participating. So in this case, all of you. The goal is to provide science-supported, expert-backed, data-driven, well-being practical takeaways that align with your values and goals. Anyways, I really wanted to share that with you, but let's get back into this study. One of the reasons clutter and decluttering impacts well-being is because the home isn't simply a place that keeps you comfortable and stores your stuff.
That's all your house is. Your house is just a place for your stuff. If you didn't have so much goddamn stuff, you wouldn't need a house.
The home, rather, is an extension of self-identity. As they put it in the study, house is where we live, but home is how we live. The concept of psychological home encapsulates the connection between home and self-identity. Sigmund and colleagues conceptualized psychological home as a dynamic process rather than a state, within which a person modifies, structures, or preserves a home environment that reflects and communicates their sense of self. So the home is an extension of the self, and clutter impacts that. Research has shown us that undergraduates make less healthy eating choices in chaotic kitchens compared to standard kitchens. Diaries, home tour recordings, and cortisol measures reveal more depressed language and mood when homes are experienced as cluttered. Children from comparatively environmentally chaotic homes perform cognitive tasks less well and demonstrate behavioral challenges. Lower reading accomplishment was also found in adolescents from homes gauged as physically problematic, which includes but is not limited to clutter. And this was supported by evidence of thinner prefrontal cortices in brain scans. Roster and colleagues challenged the home is where the heart is literature and reported that clutter negatively impacts psychological home and well-being. Key point I want to share with you today from this study is what they found was that the objective measurable amount of clutter isn't the only thing that predicts the impact of clutter on well-being. In fact, in this study, what predicted the impact of clutter on well-being the best was how the individual felt about the level of clutter. It's about you and how you feel about it. And this is one of the things about minimalism that I think misses the mark. It's not about living minimally. It's about living in accordance with your values. Remember, the home is an extension of the self. So to organize your home in a way that fosters well-being requires us to pause and think about how our self could be best expressed. It sounds weird, but if a room was to capture your essence, your character, how would that room look? Would it be minimal, or would it have many precious items? Subjective clutter is not the same thing as items that represent your self-identity. Dried flowers might feel like old outside has found its way inside, cluttering things up, and then to someone else, it might be the perfect way to bring a cozy vibe to the home and represent the beauty that can be found in all stages of self-expression. So decluttering and organizing the home isn't just about increasing our discretionary time to achieve the well-being sweet spot of 2 to 5 hours. It's also a way to create a home environment that aligns with our self-identity, which will foster overall well-being. To close out the show, we're going to do our weekly roundup, where we talk about things from the news, the World Wide Web, or other resources related to our topic of the week. If you were looking for a book to help guide you through decluttering your home in a simple but thoughtful way, this book, Decluttering at the Speed of Life, is a really great option. I've read some of the other really popular home organization books, and they are excellent, don't get me wrong. But this one is just practical in a way that really encourages you to take action, which is the whole point. Written by Dana K. White, not that Dana White, that one. And her container concept is so simple, but yet I needed to learn it. Definitely worthwhile if you're interested in a little extra support. Next up, a video that hit a little too close to home.
And a pineapple under the sea.
And finally, you've probably seen all the videos going around with the blue water bottle brand with people face diving into a bowl of ice water. Well, one of my favorite videos on this trend is from Gary Vaynerchuk, who I think actually cares a lot about promoting overall well-being. Take a listen.
Gary, what's your morning routine? And people ask me that as if that morning routine would work for them. I wake up and look at my phone immediately because I have a global company and I'm worried that Singapore had a fire in the building the night before. Like, I have responsibilities. Other people want to meditate for 30 minutes before they touch technology. That sounds brilliant to me. This goes back to the bigger point that I focus on, which is like, you need to figure yourself out. The end. Like, there's people that work 9 to 3, 4 days a week. There's people that work 7 a.m. to 10 p.m., 7 days a week, and everything in between. And there's ways to do it well, and there's ways to not do it well. Question becomes, who are you?
And that's our show for the week. If you want to try out the Declutter Bingo game, check out the links in the description to download the card. A shout out to my friend Amy for the idea. If you have any questions or if you want to give it a go, I'd love to hear from you in the comments. To never miss an episode of the Wellbeing Weekly Show, be sure to subscribe, and if you want to get the new episodes right into your inbox, you can sign up for the Wellbeing Weekly newsletter, a once per week newsletter that will link to the new video and has a few secret well-being goodies as well. And if you want to support the channel, you can subscribe, hit the thumbs up, and comment below. As a small channel, this really does help me out a ton. And if you're feeling beyond generous and are absolutely confident you have the means to do so, you can financially contribute to the show using the support link in the description as well. All the money gifted will go towards filming equipment and improving the overall quality of the show. Thanks for listening. Talk with you next week.